What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Nice Catch Podcast. We're here to catch you up on all the latest football news and analysis. I'm Baden.
And I'm Hank. Today, we're discussing the NFL preseason and our college football playoff predictions.
NFL season's almost here.
It's crazy. Not this Thursday, but next, we will have a legitimate NFL game.
Excited.
The 2024, it's 2024 Super Bowl winner, even though it's in 2025, right? I think it is.
I think so. I think you're right.
The race for the 2024 Super Bowl will start this next Thursday is the best way to say it. And for all of you college football fans out there, I know some of our listeners are bigger college football fans than NFL fans. I know because you're my friends. But hey, we're talking about a lot of college football today. But before we do that, let's jump into our preseason takeaways. I have some stuff about rookie quarterbacks and a few other players. I have one surprise player that I liked watching a lot. Well, first of all, what were your takes on the rookie quarterbacks?
The rookie quarterbacks, I think that Caleb Williams looked a lot better than I was expecting. I think he led the team well. He had some pretty amazing plays, some good throws downfield. He was pretty fun to watch. You know, although I didn't really want him to be fun to watch, he was, and he really put on a show. I think he really, in the few preseason games that he played, he really kind of proved himself to be part of that, a good addition to the team. I think he'll be a good leader. For me, the biggest quarterback that I noticed that I was like, all right, was Bo Nix.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he went from getting drafted to the Broncos and almost instantly went down to third string, which I think was a big surprise for everybody. I know I was surprised. And, you know, Jared Stidham, he played pretty good in the offseason, but Bo Nix he took off. He really showed out. He really showed that he can lead the team, and I was very impressed by Bo Nix. So, you know, he earned the starting job, if that's still the case, but I'm behind that. I think he deserved that job, and I think he's going to be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably my biggest two quarterback takeaways. Biggest one, definitely Bo Nix.
I like it. Yeah, I'm with you there. I was surprised that every first-round quarterback really played up to their draft position.
Mm-hmm.
It's just likely that won't pan out, but Caleb Williams, he looked like Mahomes. Jaden Daniels, he can run, and he can throw.
Yep.
Drake May, well, he proved to me that the Patriots are not an automatic 2025 NFL Draft top 5 pick team. They can overplay their, very low floor that I have for them. Mm-hmm. We didn't see much of Michael Penix, but he showed promise, especially with starting probably his first 2 years as a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Bo Nix, like you said, impressed with his arm, impressed with his legs, especially outplaying the other two Broncos quarterbacks. Yeah. Zach Wilson, I think, can still be a low-end starter in this league, just being on the Jets for so long, and now on the Broncos, which isn't that much better. That definitely hurt him. And McCarthy proved doubters wrong. He can throw. Yes, it was a preseason defense, but he can play well. But I'm really bummed that he's going to miss this whole season. That stinks for him.
It's heartbreaking. I can't even imagine what he's feeling right now, but, you know, he's still young. He's got a lot of season left, or a lot of career left. He doesn't have a lot of season left.
True, he doesn't have any season left.
He's got a lot of career left, but there's no telling. You know, he'll get back, but yeah, that's a big bummer having JJ McCarthy out in the preseason. You know, but
yeah, I'm excited for the rest of his career.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope this injury doesn't set him back a lot.
Yeah. Well, Hank, I gotta say, Titans looked pretty good in the preseason.
Hey, let's go.
I'm seeing some of the things that you're saying kind of coming to fruition. You got some players were showing up, you know. So I gotta say, I'm impressed. You were calling it. The Titans were looking pretty good.
All right. See, we have a fantasy football draft tonight, and if you pick Tyjae Spears above me,
first pick, first round,
Tyjae Spears.
I'm taking Tyjae Spears.
Yep, exactly.
No. Hey, I did take. No, I didn't. Never mind. I thought about taking. I put George Pickens on my queue, and then someone else got him before I did. But
because of all you already had a draft.
Because of all your talking up, I put him on the queue. I didn't end up getting him. Somebody else got him, but he was there. Not like, probably 4th or 5th round.
I think George Pickens, my opinions of him have been slowly going down, and the public's opinion of him has been slowly going up.
Really?
And so my opinion and ESPN's opinion are about equal now.
Yeah, they've come out to a good average.
Tyjae Spears, I think he could be easily top 15 starter in the league by the end of this year.
Okay.
But as for like other rising stars in this league, some people who also played up to their draft stock, Malik Neighbors and Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
Sure, some others did too, but these two impressed me a lot. Malik Neighbors, he showed why he was a top 10 pick. He was routinely making highlight reel grabs, which is
what you have to do.
Yeah, you have to make that. I mean, if you're on the Giants,
yeah.
But also, people look at Marvin Harrison as just the overall best receiver in the draft. But Malik Neighbors is the one who makes the flashy plays, and that's what he did.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. And then
Xavier Worthy, he has the speed to be the next Tyreek Hill.
Yep, he's a deep threat.
He can do it.
And he looked good.
Yeah. I mean, seeing the Chiefs regress in a good – not regress. Go back to where they were when they had Tyreek Hill, that's going to be – that could be insane. They won't have the defense they had last year, so they need a better offense if they're going to be a contender again with Snead gone and some other players gone. But Worthy could be that missing piece.
For sure.
And that's going to be scary for any team.
Oh yeah, and then you just got them playing around now. At this point, you got Patrick Mahomes throwing behind the back passes.
That's crazy.
They're just preseason. They're just if you're gonna do that, might as well do it in preseason. But
yeah, exactly.
I think the Chiefs are gonna be just as much of a threat as they always are. I think it's gonna be dangerous.
Yeah.
But
could we see a Chiefs three-peat? I think we've mentioned that on here before, but
it's possible.
Man,
I hope not.
It's hard.
Possible.
It's hard to not imagine a reality of that. I mean, not a reality where there's not a possibility of that.
Yeah.
Because they're so good. And you can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I just can't bring myself to do it.
As much as you want to. You just can't. He's proved himself pretty much every time. And whether you like it or you don't like it, he's excellent. So we could be seeing a Chiefs three-peat.
Crazy.
Do I want that? No. Is it very possible?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The last thing about the NFL preseason, one of my favorite things about this is you're seeing players who, many of them, this is their only NFL action they'll ever see. They may have been, maybe all conference in college, if they went to, a really small school. They just don't get the NFL nod. So an undrafted rookie free agent that really impressed me this year, last year was, Tyson Bagent. Maybe didn't, put together an insane preseason, but during the season, he led the Bears to a couple wins, I think. He was a good backup. But this year, especially with the new returns, which we should talk about that for just a couple minutes after I mention this.
Yeah.
Is David Wallace, who I had never heard of. I hadn't even heard of the school he went to. But he returned well. Really well. So I'm not only saying that I'm excited to see him return in the regular season. I'm saying maybe look at the Pats' defense special teams in your fantasy drafts, because he's not going to be the Devin Hester, even what Cavante Turpin was hyped up to be. But if you want an upside defense, the Pats' defense isn't going to be great, especially with Judon gone. But they could be a sleeper.
Yeah.
So if you're pick number 12, 14, whatever, last pick of your draft, you just want a defense, maybe take the Pats if you're wanting just a sleeper pick.
Okay.
But as for the kickoffs,
yeah.
what do you think?
I was not thinking very highly of them, and then Hank brought a good point forth, which I'll let you say if you want to. I think that it seemed to me in the preseason that the intended effect that the NFL wanted wasn't quite happening. We saw 2 or 3 good returns, but a lot of them didn't make it past the 20-25. I I don't think in a game that I personally watched, which I can say with college starting up wasn't as much as I would have liked to, I don't think I saw a return past the 30-yard line. And, of course, I didn't watch all of them. But Hank brought forth a good point, which I'll let him say, but why that might be, that we're not seeing these crazy returns and touchdowns and stuff almost, as
in preseason.
What would be the word? Consistently as we might have hoped with these new rules.
Yeah, and I think it was just a commentator that brought this to my attention, but people aren't going to be using their best blocking schemes or their best blockers on these plays. And sure, the defense and offense will both get better, or like return and defense or return and coverage team. So it will even out, but they're going to use better players on there, so they're going to be consistently better returns or better defensive plays.
Yeah.
And so the amount or the percentage of kicks that were returned this year, way up. And so that is what the NFL wanted to get at. But like you said, the yardage just ended up being about a touchback, and most of that time it wasn't even that entertaining to watch. We haven't seen one return for a touchdown yet, but one got really close. At least one got inside the 10-yard line. Oh, returning a kick that far and not scoring, it's tough.
Really tough.
But I'm excited to see how this continues to go. Worst case, after this season, the NFL's like, yeah, it didn't work. They did that with the ability to challenge a pass interference call, which was a necessary rule change considering the Saints not making it to the Super Bowl that year.
Don't even get me started. Just kidding.
Yeah, we don't want to cover that in this episode.
No.
But yeah, I'm excited to see how the kickoffs go, especially once we get starting returners in, once we get Cordero Patterson back there.
Yeah.
Or Justin Fields.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we're going to see Justin Fields return kicks.
Never know.
It's funny, though, especially that made it into Madden. In the Madden video, Justin Fields.
Video, he was returning it.
It's crazy.
If we see that, that's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
It would be so dumb, in my opinion, to put your possible future quarterback at the kick return. But you never know.
Yeah, even if he's not your starting quarterback, you don't want to put your quarterback of the future, at least who you're hoping that to be,
a kick return.
In the backfield of a kick return.
No, where people get absolutely smoked.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you want to move to the bulk of our podcast?
The real meat of the podcast.
Oh yeah, we're about
expert.
13 minutes in, and ooh man, did I spend a lot of time on this just for fun. It's into the summer, and you're like, what should I do? Nothing. I think I'll look at about 50 different college football teams' schedules as well as their odds, just to prepare for about 30 minutes of talking about it. And it was a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. And it's going to be a treat because I have some hot takes. And I don't like hot takes generally because most of the time people just say them to get the likes and the clicks.
Yeah.
But my Big 12 take, ooh, you're not ready for it. You're not ready for it. So let's go conference champions, just alphabetical order is how I have it on here. So ACC, then Big 10, then Big 12, then SEC. Did I say Power 5? We're just going to do Power 4 and then go into Group of 5. So ACC, really, I do think it's going to be, I was going to say three-man race. Florida State helped me out a lot here by losing. I did pick this before Florida State lost, but I picked Miami over Clemson, which is kind of a hot take.
Okay.
I think Miami's going to have a really good team this year. Cam Ward is a good quarterback. And the Canes have been good off and on, but I think this is the year they finally take the step up and win the ACC. And I think Clemson returns to kind of how they have been. Not
the best,
like a top 5 team, but enough to make the conference championship, and you'll see later, but I think they'll make the playoffs. Florida State, I already didn't have them making the conference championship. Of course, I still don't think they will. They still have some hard schedule left. But Miami over Clemson is my ACC prediction. And I just put the team I think they'll beat. You don't have to put that in your prediction.
Okay. I'm not as big of a college football specifically kind of guy, but I in my top 12 I had Miami and Florida State, And so, Florida State got embarrassingly beat by Georgia Tech. And so I guess we'll see, but I think that you can't. College is harder because when, in the NFL you have such a long season and there's so many good teams that if you lose a game, your season's not over.
Mm-hmm.
College football, that's different.
Yeah.
You can lose 2 games and you're out, And so that's not a great start for Florida State. So I'll have Miami winning the ACC.
Yeah, I like it. Hey, consensus Miami pick over here on the Nice Catch podcast.
Sir.
Big Ten, I got Oregon beating Penn State. And I see this conference really being a 3-man race between Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State. And the reasoning for this, for me, is that Ohio State plays both Penn State and Oregon. But Penn State and Oregon never play each other. So, if you look at the top dogs, Oregon just has the easiest schedule, or the easier. Oregon and Penn State both have the easier schedule. And I think Oregon has the better roster.
Okay.
Sorry, Ohio State, still not your year, barely, but whatever. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. USC and Michigan don't have the schedule. Iowa doesn't have the offense, but if they find an offense, they could be a contender because they have an easy schedule and they have an insane defense. I'm willing to throw out Nebraska and Rutgers as dark horses. They both have a lot of roster questions, but also easier schedules. And if Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon don't pan out, if they lose some trap games, it could open it up to a team like Rutgers or Nebraska.
Yeah. I have Oregon pretty high, so I'm going to go with Oregon, but I think it's going to be against Ohio State.
Okay.
I think that Ohio State is always a contender. I think that they're going to be a competitive team. I think that they got pretty close last year and they just couldn't finish it out. And so I think that they're going to have a little bit of a fire underneath them. And they obviously, they don't have all the same players, but it's not like they lost a Bo Nix or they lost a J.J. McCarthy or they lost that big guy or the multiple big players. Michigan, they lost J.J. McCarthy and they lost the running back, number 0.
Yeah, Blake Corum.
So it's like I think Ohio State still has a pretty good shot. And so I have Ohio State versus Oregon, but I have Oregon winning that one.
Yeah, I have to agree with you that Ohio State has a really good roster on paper. Mm-hmm. I'm just willing to bet with the history that it's not going to be their year. Maybe some year they'll prove history wrong, but
you don't think
they
so?
haven't. Okay, Big 12. I said this is my hot take, and we're in a different setup this week, so Baden can actually see my notes. So if you haven't looked at my notes, guess. I want you to guess who my Big 12 pick is. Okay. See, I don't think Baylor's going to win it. It's not that much of a hot take, but I'm excited.
I think that you're going to say... If it's a hot take, let me see. I'm going to say Oklahoma State.
Okay.
No, you're going to go
Close.
Kansas. I think
okay,
you're gonna go
okay,
Kansas.
Second. Yes, okay. I think Kansas is going to win it all. But I do have them beating Oklahoma State in the conference championship game. So, really good guess.
Hey, top 2.
But I'm actually really excited for Kansas this season. And that sounds really weird to say about football, but they've performed well. They've played really well over the past few years. Jalen Daniels, still sounds weird to say because we have Jaden Daniels already, but Jalen Daniels has shown a lot of promise. I only see it getting better. I love where Lance Leipold is taking this program, and they have an easier schedule than other teams vying for the Big 12 title. And here's the hottest take in here.
Okay.
I would not be surprised to see Kansas finishing the season 11-1, maybe even 12-0, going undefeated.
Really?
Wouldn't really surprise me.
Okay.
And I see the race between Oklahoma State and Arizona being really close for getting the second or the other conference championship spot, and then Utah's going to be a little bit behind both those. But Kansas, get on the Kansas hype train.
All right.
It's real. It's real. If it hasn't started yet, I'm starting it right now. Board the Kansas bandwagon. It's my hot take of the season, or of this episode, not of the whole season.
All right. Well, I wasn't going necessarily the same direction. I had Utah beating Kansas. So, not as much going into that, but just from different articles, different websites that I looked at, I had Kansas and Utah. And I decided with Utah. That's what I decided to go with.
Well, I mean, if you have a quarterback in his 7th year, it's going to bring a lot of leadership.
Yeah.
So, and I like Cam Rising. I like Utah.
Hey, Kansas.
I'm just with Kansas. I'm over
go.
here. SEC, here we go. Alphabetical order puts the best conference. Well, okay, maybe the Big Ten's the best conference, but debatably the best conference last. And this is tough. This is really tough. I originally had Texas beating Alabama in the conference championship, but I think Texas' schedule will be a lot harder than it is on paper. And these preseason injuries with their running backs, that's going to hurt them. It's really going to hurt in the long run. So, edited pick, Alabama over Georgia. Again, SEC championship. There's no Nick Saban,
right.
But I think Alabama can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing October. They got Tennessee, they got Missouri, and they got LSU. That's going to be the determining factor. They have a hard game against Georgia, but a loss against Georgia is not going to keep you from the championship probably.
No.
Of course, Kalen DeBoer is not Nick Saban, but he showed he can win, and Nick Saban's going to be involved.
Yeah.
He's not going to just be like, all right, guys, I'm done. Georgia's schedule is really a gauntlet, but their roster looks so good, and Kirby Smart just keeps winning, so I can't bet against him. Some other teams I like, Ole Miss, Mizzou, Tennessee, LSU. Ooh, we got a little rhyming in there. But they're all similar in having pretty good schedules, and so any of them could take the SEC if they execute well. And then my sleeper, well, it doesn't really count as a sleeper because this is pretty much everyone's sleeper, but Texas A&M. They deserve the press they've been getting. Their schedule really isn't, well, it's an SEC schedule, so it's hard. Compared to most SEC schedules, it's not that hard. Week 1 against Notre Dame is going to prove a lot, but they've had the roster for a long time, so if the roster can perform how we know they can perform, it's not too far-fetched. It's really not, in my mind. But Alabama, give me Alabama. Pulling a Pat McAfee here. So, go ahead.
All right, I have Georgia over Texas. And the reason I didn't put Alabama in there is the same reason that you said, but then said it didn't actually. I think that without Nick Saban being the head coach, I think not that it's going to be a rebuilding year. They still have a great roster. They still have a lot of potential. But I think that's just going to be a big, not upset, but it's going to, the water's moving around a little bit, a lot of change. And that's, losing Nick Saban is different than just any other coach.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And then I just don't think you can bet against Georgia. I like to, and it never works out for me.
I'm with you.
And so I'm going Georgia over Texas. I think Texas, I think they got something to prove. I think they thought they deserved to beat Washington. They didn't. And so I think that they're going to have something to prove, just like Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
So I have them there, but I think Georgia beats them just because it's Georgia.
Yeah, just because they're Georgia.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then we're at the group of 5, and this is where a lot of things get really hard because there's a lot of transfers. Like if you're in the group of 5 and you're a really good player, you're probably going to enter the portal. If you're a underperforming player in Power 4, still sounds weird. Power 4, you're going to transfer down to the group of 5.
Mm-hmm.
So rosters change every year with the transfer portal, especially here. But just to give everyone a little love, I'm going to go through all of my group of 5 conference winners, and then at the end throw out my last conference championship playoff berth.
Well,
but
take us through it.
For the AAC, I think UTSA is going to win. And there are other good teams in here, and this is my other hot take. I think UTSA pulls off an 11-1 season. I think their only loss is to Texas.
Okay.
I think they upset Memphis in the regular season, and Memphis is a popular pick for this 5th conference championship spot. But I think they upset Memphis both in the regular season and in the conference championship and go to an 11-1 season. Conference USA, Liberty. Liberty looks too good for its conference. I don't see it being a close race. Of course, every time we say that, someone pops up out of nowhere.
It's true.
But I think Liberty's going to win it all. Their conference. Caden Salter's back. Maybe he's a Heisman sleeper. I don't know. Maybe. Schedule-wise, they don't play any Power 4 teams. Nope. Their biggest competition is App State, which is not an easy game, but an undefeated Liberty would not surprise me.
Yeah.
And that's going to be impressive. The MAC, I don't think anyone from the MAC's making the playoffs. But Miami, Ohio, that's my pick. But we'll just move past that. Mountain West, Boise State. On paper, they also look miles ahead of the rest of their conference. The difference between them and Liberty is the schedules. Boise State plays Oregon, which I do fully expect to be a loss. If they beat Oregon, my mind is going to be blown, like big time.
the notes are going in the trash.
But they play Washington State and Oregon State. And those other two teams, which is just the rest of the Pac-12, they're going to be challenging, but they're not going to be as good as they were last year. And so a win against either or both of those teams would not only put them in a good position to win their conference, but also would impress the playoff committee. I could see them beating both those teams. I am surprised at how their quarterback race went. But, hey, if he's who won, he's going to be a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And then Sunbelt, already alluded to it, but App State. Right now, it's App State's conference to lose. Liberty's going to be a challenge, and they play Clemson as well, which that would have to be a major upset if they win. But I do think App State's going to finish at the top of their conference. But which Group of 5 school gets a playoff spot? The two that I think it's going to be really close between, Boise State and Liberty. Some, as I said, some sleeper teams. UTSA, if they go 11-1, they'll definitely have a shot. App State could take it. UTSA and Tulane both have potential. But if you look at Liberty and Boise State, here's my analysis. And I went really deep here because it was so close in my mind. I went back and forth.
Get in there.
On paper, Liberty has the advantage because schedule. But the committee may prefer a 10-2 Boise State team to an 11-1 Liberty team. Maybe. Yeah. My pick right now, why did I put that in my notes? I don't want to give that up. Whatever. Boise State has a chance to go undefeated in conference play and beat both Washington State and Oregon State. A loss against Oregon hurts their resume much less than a loss against App State would hurt Liberty. And depending on these teams' overall performance, margin of victory, player stats, and even the eye test, the committee may prefer 11-1 Boise State to undefeated Liberty. So you look at that, strength of schedule, overall roster, give me Boise State. Boise State's making the playoffs this year.
All right.
They're not going to host a game, so we won't see a playoff on the blue field. But
sadly,
put them in the playoffs. Put them in there. Biggest game since the game we're still seeing highlights from.
In that scenario, I have Liberty. I have Liberty coming through.
Okay.
There's probably some bias behind that.
Fair.
I've had two sisters go through Liberty and a brother-in-law, and I did some online high school with Liberty, and seeing the football field.
Yeah, I've seen the Boise State football field.
Really?
It was covered in snow though, so I didn't see anything blue.
But hey, I like Liberty. My family's never watched that many college games at home, unless it's something like a Texas game, or A&M, Baylor, TCU, something local, relatively local. But we watched a lot of Liberty University games last year, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Salter had some, I can't remember the receivers' names, but he was connecting really well in the few games that I watched. Well, not the few games, quite a few games that I watched last year. Obviously they played Oregon, and they got spanked by Oregon.
Yeah, but it wasn't also Oregon.
But it was Oregon, and they played. They came and they played. It wasn't like, I hate to say this, but TCU versus Georgia.
It was close. It was a close game at first.
It was a close game at first. It started out, and we were playing, and of course Oregon ran away with it. But they came out to compete. They didn't just lay down and get whooped. And so I'm excited for Liberty to see how they do this season. I think that they just keep getting better. Their name wasn't even in there, I would say, 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. No one even thought about Liberty having a football team. And now they're at least in the conversation for the playoffs, and I'm saying they're in it. They're in the top 12. I don't rank them very high, but I say they get in there. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, I like it. Hey. Yeah, I was really hard to bet against Liberty, too. But let's go in what we think our seeding is going to be. Let's list top 4, just our top conference champions.
Okay.
And then we can go, I don't know, I'll list my 5 through 12. You can list your 5 through 12. So my top 4, as I said, conference champions are, let me list it in the order up first so that I don't give you a spoiler. Miami, Oregon, Kansas, and Alabama. Number 1, Oregon.
Okay.
I think they're going to win their conference. And if they win their conference, they're probably going to go undefeated. And they just have a really good roster. And really cool jerseys. But that's really beside the point. I think Oregon is going to be really hard to beat this year. Number 2, Alabama. I think a lot of this rests on Jalen Milroe. He's going to put together an impressive season. He's going to be in conversation for a top 5 NFL draft pick next season. And Kalen DeBoer leads his team to the number 2 overall seed 2 years in a row. Just put some poetry in there. Number 3, Miami. Cam Ward, I think he's going to play well. And ACC, their conference isn't going to be that hard, so they're not going to have many statement wins. Oregon and Alabama, if they win their conference, they're going to have statement wins. But they make enough of a statement to get the 3 spot. And then number 4, as I said, they'll win their conference, but they're not going to be top 3, Kansas. Jalen Daniels continues to lead Lance Leipold's Jayhawks to win after win, and they have a slightly easier schedule than the other Big 12 contenders. That was kind of just a note to myself. But, I put some thought into writing that, so I thought I might just share it on the air.
For sure.
So there's 1 through 4. Who are your conference champions?
Okay, my conference champions were Oregon, Ohio State? No. Oregon, Georgia, Utah, and
you had
Miami.
Okay.
I believe.
Cool.
And so Oregon, number 1. I don't see a scenario in which they're not. And obviously the awesome uniforms just build to that. That just makes it so much cooler. I put Georgia at number 2. I think if we see Oregon, Georgia, I would not be surprised. I'm taking Oregon, but Georgia's always going to be a contender.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Miami, and number 2, Utah. I think that those are both solid teams. I don't put much stock in either of them beating Oregon or Georgia, but for conference champions, I think that they're up there. So yeah, I'm going to go Oregon, Georgia, Miami, Utah.
Okay, I like it. My 5 through 7, I think number 5, Georgia. They're not going to win the conference, but they're still going to be Georgia. Number 6, Penn State. I foresee Penn State being an extremely dominant team this year, but just shy of Oregon. Ohio State, I do have them at 7. I think they'll make the playoffs, but just not impressed quite as much as the other teams above them. Number 8, I have Ole Miss. Jackson Dart, he's amazing. I think he's at least going to be more amazing this year. And they have a top-tier defense. They're going to finish top 10 this year. So, mark my words.
All right.
Number 9, you got Notre Dame. I do think they'll make the playoffs, even if they lose 1 or 2 games. Riley Leonard's going to lead them, but they're not quite good enough to cause controversy about these bye weeks only belonging to conference champions. I don't see him being as good as those teams, but they're going to be really good. Number 10, Clemson. They did lose the conference championship, in my mind and my predictions, but I think they'll have an impressive enough season.
Okay.
Number 11, my last at-large berth. 12 is Boise State, just because I think that's how it's going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
11, Oklahoma State. Confession, I did put Florida State here. I was really worried about their defense, and I felt so bad for Florida State fans and not putting him in.
Mm-hmm, but now,
they made it really easy on me.
Yeah,
Florida State made it
helped.
really easy on me.
They
and
sure
so,
did, didn't
number
they?
11, Oklahoma State. Ollie Gordon's going to put together an almost Heisman caliber season as a running back.
Okay.
So,
That's your
there
list.
you go. That's my last at-large berth is Oklahoma State, and then, as I said, 12 is Boise State. So.
All right. I have my 5 through 12. 5, I have Ohio State. I think that, like I said, they've got a great team, great roster on paper. They are probably not happy. I can tell you they're not happy with how last season ended. And so they're going to come and they're going to fight, and I think that they're my number 5. Number 6, I have Texas. I like Texas. I like their players.
Boo.
And I'm putting some stock behind them. I think it's the same thing. It's that underdog isn't necessarily the right word, but it's the fire of really being disappointed last season and just coming back and proving that, you can play really well and you can get right back on the horse. So I'm putting Texas at 6. 7, I have Notre Dame. I love the QB. I think he's awesome. I think he's a great leader, and I'm excited for them. Notre Dame's another team that, at least recently, they've been good, but when you think about the best in football, in college football right now, they're not the first thought that comes to your mind, but I think they're going to put on a really good show. So I got Notre Dame at 7. 8, I have Alabama. Compared to your list at least, that's pretty low, but like I said, with Nick Saban out of there, I think that it's going to be a lot of change. It's going to be different. There's going to have to be a lot of adjustment, and of course, it's still Alabama, so I think they're going to make it. But I have them at 8. At 9, I have Penn State. I think that they're going to do pretty well. At 10, I have Michigan.
Okay.
I think Michigan, they've lost a lot. They don't have their coach, they don't have their quarterback, they don't have their running back. There's been a lot of,
and they have legal problems,
and they have legal issues, which always. But you saw last season they got through that.
Sure.
And so there's going to be a lot of change, a lot of it's a lot of adversity. I was thinking diversity, but I knew that wasn't right. A lot of adversity. Yeah. A lot of adversity, and I think that if they can get through that, I think they're a top 12 team. It's expounded on the situation of Alabama. It's Alabama's situation, but more. So I have them lower than them, but I still think that they can do pretty well. So I have them at 10. At 11, I have Ole Miss. I think they're going to come out and play. They're another team that, you don't necessarily think of them when you're thinking about the top 12. We know they're going to be good, but it's not like they're amazing. It's not like they're a powerhouse. But I think that they'll do pretty well. And then 12, Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
Liberty's going to get in there, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off an upset.
Ooh.
But I don't.
Wow.
I don't know that they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna go all the way. But I wouldn't be surprised if they can, pull off a good game. You never know. All right. I wouldn't put it past them.
Okay.
I almost wanted to put them at 11 so it'd be an easier upset, but that wouldn't be true because I think they're going to be at 12.
Yeah.
But that's my list.
Okay, cool. Before we move on to a little bit of Heisman talk to close it out, I want to just list some of my sleeper teams or my just missed teams and sleeper teams, and go over a little bit of what I think the playoffs are going to look like.
All right.
My just missed teams, first 3 out I think are going to be Tennessee, Arizona, and Texas. Tennessee is going to be really good this year. I almost said rookie quarterback. Their freshman quarterback, he's going to light a fire, but it's the SEC. I think they're going to fall shy. Okay. Arizona, they finished top 3 in their conference, but it is the Big 12, so I just don't think they'll get enough love to make it in. Texas, injuries are really going to hurt them, and they're going to lose some close games. They'll play well, but I don't see them having the ability to just pull off the close wins against a lot of hard conference games.
Yeah, tough games.
I think Liberty's going to be a top 20 team. I just think Boise State's going to be even better.
Think you're going to bump them out?
I think so. And then sleepers, I already said Texas A&M, but someone else I want to point out is Rutgers. Mm-hmm. Sounds really crazy because they don't have a great roster on paper, but their schedule is an extremely light Big Ten schedule.
Okay.
And the Big Ten race is going to be really tight.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw them out there as a sleeper team.
Yeah, all it takes is a couple teams having some bad losses, and you move up the ranks. Mm-hmm. And you get an upset, you get 2 upsets. There's really no telling what'll happen.
Yeah.
With any team, really.
Mm-hmm. And one way, something I want to point out about how I see the playoffs going is that you have the conference champions obviously getting the bye week, but you have really good teams at 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever seeds are still in, playing the teams in their bye weeks. So I think only 2 of the 4 teams on a bye week are actually going to win a game. Mm-hmm. How I see it going, Kansas playing Georgia, I just don't see that favoring Kansas.
Yeah.
Miami playing Penn State, I don't see that favoring Miami. But Oregon and Alabama, I do think they'll win their games. Mm-hmm. But the final, I even put a score here just for fun. But Oregon, 45, Georgia, 31.
Hey.
Oregon's going to win it all.
We're on the same page. We did not talk about this beforehand. Okay. I like it.
But the hard thing about this is it's going to really bring up NIL talk because Oregon has unlimited NIL money.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't want to dive into that. So let's move past that. I don't want to think about that.
Yeah. And a lot of times, there's always going to be something like that when a team wins because there's always people that wish they didn't win. So they're going to say, oh, well, they have all this NIL money. They can, if not that they're even remotely close, but say in the next few years, Deion and Colorado won, be like, well, they have Deion, they have the whole portal. Everybody wants to go there. It's just for the fame. Everybody's going to have something to be mad about. Mm-hmm. But if you win a football game, you won the football game. So I don't know. That's just what that's Baden's take of that.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Speaking of which, any small businesses that want to get a little NIL deal with the track? I'm just kidding.
I'm just going to list my top 3 Heisman picks so we can finish up here. And then maybe throw out some sleepers. Top 3, Dylan Gabriel. He's on a really good team. He has good weapons. I think he's going to be dominant. Jackson Dart, kind of the same reason. Jalen Milroe, also kind of the same reason. But seeing his transformation from 2 years ago in the beginning of last year to end of last year, I think Jalen Milroe is really going to be a good quarterback.
All right. Some
sleepers, Jalen Daniels, threw that out there. Ollie Gordon and Quinshon Judkins, 2 non-quarterbacks I want to throw out there. Mm-hmm. And Drew Aller at Penn State and Connor Wakeman at Texas A&M. Those are my sleepers.
If we had Jalen Daniels take it right after Jaden Daniels,
ooh,
that'd just be funny.
Talk about poetry. Ooh, the script.
Hey, I don't know. I don't have much on this topic, but I don't know. You kind of mentioned it before. Throw some Salter out there. I don't know. As a little sleeper pick, a little underdog. It'll take a lot, because it's not like he's on a big team. It's not like he has all the hype behind him. But I think it's very possible. And he's almost he reminds me of a Jaden Daniels kind of player. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that's what the newer this kind of sounds weird saying, but like the newer generation of quarterbacks, a lot of times what they look for, what they want to see is a quarterback who's very mobile and can also throw. And that's something that Salter has. And so I think it's possible, but, that's just something that I see now is a lot of the quarterbacks that get looked at, that get seen, are the Lamar Jacksons, the ones that are like that, the Jaden Daniels, the Salter. So we'll see.
I'm with you there. Well,
boom, college football. I'm so excited for football to start.
Dude,
it's going to be different, not being able to just sit at home and watch all the games, but as much as I can, I'm going to be recording stuff. I'm going to be watching everything I can because I got even more stake in it. I got a podcast now.
Exactly. I almost cried and jumped for joy whenever Florida State lost. Not just because they lost. I'm sorry. Just like football's back.
Football is back. It's just like it's here.
We started the season with a top 10 upset. How awesome is that?
That's the best thing about football is you can be the best team and you never know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You literally never, and especially in the NFL when everyone is getting paid to do that. Everybody's a professional. Everyone there is the best of the best except Daniel. No, I'm just kidding. So you never know. You never know what can happen. That's one of the most beautiful things about football. Sports in general, but definitely football.
For sure. Thanks for listening to the Nice Catch podcast. If you love football, join us each episode for football news and analysis. This is a Nice Catch podcast.